Stacking chips, building a dynasty for 2028 Las Vegas. It started in 72. It has the same type of feel. The waterfall isn't a myth. It's the reason Vegas gets a ballpark and Oakland gets excuses. Today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Booney, one name, all passion, no sugarcoating, lifelong A's fan. Beyond excited to be here with you today, talking A's. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. And if you do reside in Nevada, we are on Silver State Sports and Entertainment, Digital Channel 5.2, and Cox Cable Channel 77. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Today on Locked On A's, we are talking waterfalls, not the ones you are thinking about, the misunderstood genius of the waterfall tax system. I'm going to connect the dots to the city that missed its chance, Oakland. Back in 2019, the A's had the same financial blueprint through Senate Bill 293 Skinner, a California law designed to do exactly what Vegas is doing now. It was the original waterfall, a tool that could have built Howard Terminal without touching general funds. But while Nevada turned the faucet on, Oakland let the pipes rust. The result? Vegas gets the economic flow, Oakland gets the drought. I will explain how the water system became the A's greatest escape route and why Oakland's political dam building cost them the franchise forever. That's later. Forget the headline screaming public handout. This isn't that. The waterfall system is built on one simple idea. Let the stadium pay for itself with the money it creates. I will use some real life examples of this method in other cities, such as Petco Park in San Diego, Truist Park in Atlanta. First, the funding model turning the A's Las Vegas Stadium into a self-sustaining economic machine. The waterfall tax system is like a financial conveyor belt. It takes all the tax money earned inside a special district, in this case around the A's new stadium in Las Vegas, and sends it down a series of steps. Each step gets paid in a specific order. The key point that this system uses money generated by the stadium itself, not general taxpayer money from schools or public services. So if you live in Nevada and never attend a single A's game, you will not pay a cent for this ballpark. Let me repeat that. If you live in Nevada and never attend a single A's game, you will not pay a cent for this ballpark. The taxes come from the activity the stadium creates. Every hot dog sold, every beer poured, every jersey bought, every concert ticket scanned inside the district produces sales tax. Add in property taxes from new businesses that spring up nearby, and you've got a steady flow of revenue created by the stadium's presence. That's the beauty of it. It's self-contained. The project pays for itself through its own success. This is the quote-unquote rain. It all falls into the stadium tax district, the basin that catches the revenue. Now that rain flows down through 9 levels, each one a step in the waterfall. The first step in the waterfall is simple. Pay back the people who loaned the money to build the stadium. Nevada issued bonds, essentially IOUs, to raise funds. So the very first thing the tax revenue does is pay those loans, around $7 million per year, before a single dollar goes anywhere else. This keeps the project financially secure and ensures lenders get their money back on time. This is the top priority. Investors get paid first. If this step isn't funded, the project fails, so it always gets paid before anything else. The purpose of this is to protect against shortfalls in revenue. This fund holds cash to cover payments if the stadium underperforms in a given year, so the public doesn't pay. It's like an insurance policy built into the system. Step 2, operations and oversight. Once the bonds are paid, a small slice goes towards running the financial side of the project. Think accountants, auditors, and compliance officers, the folks making sure nobody's skimming off the top or mismanaging funds. It's a fraction of the percent of total income, just enough to keep the system running smoothly and legally. Step 3, backup fund. The next level in the waterfall is a backup safety net. Let's say the A's have a down year or fewer events happen than expected. The stadium backup fund covers those shortfalls so the stadium still runs without touching taxpayer money. It's like keeping a few months of rent saved in your bank account just in case you lose your job. Protects against shortfalls in revenue. This fund holds cash to cover payments if the stadium underperforms in a given year, so the public, again, does not pay. It's like an insurance policy built into the system. Step 4, reserve fund. If that backup fund ever needs a boost, there's a reserve fund designed to hold enough cash to cover the entire year worth of loan payments. It's an emergency cushion that protects the city, county, and taxpayers from ever having to step in, even if the economy tanks or tourism dips. The reserve fund ensures that the debt payments don't stop. Store enough money to make one full year of loan payments if needed. If tourism drops or Vegas hits a slump, this fund ensures the lights stay on and the bonds stay paid. No taxpayer bailouts. Emergency credit line. If the waterfall ever runs dry, say a global recession hits and tourism nosedives, Nevada built in a $14 million emergency line of credit. It's like a government credit card for worst case scenarios. And here's the kicker. Anytime this line is used, future tax revenue from the stadium pays it back again. No outside taxpayer help is required. Maintenance and upkeep. You can't have a $1 billion ballpark with broken seats. Well, a $2 billion ballpark with broken seats and a dying scoreboard. So each year, around $5 million goes into a maintenance fund to keep the stadium pristine. This ensures the A's home stays a first-class venue and prevents the need for emergency repairs that might otherwise cost the public down the road. Purpose: keep the ballpark beautiful and operational. At least $5 million a year goes towards repairs, cleaning, and upgrades, so the place doesn't turn into another Oakland Coliseum. Affordable housing and bonus projects. Here's where it gets interesting. After the stadium, loans and maintenance are covered. Leftover funds go toward community projects, including up to $5 million annually for affordable housing in Clark County. Yes, the same stadium critics claim will drain the public actually helps build homes for low-income residents. Any extra revenue after that can fund infrastructure, local roads, or even early loan repayments. If there's still water left at the bottom, it can fund early debt payoffs, road improvements, public transportation links. This is a good problem tier, where extra success means extra community investment. The big picture, in short, the waterfall tax system turns what many assumes is a taxpayer burden into a self-funding economic engine. Every dollar generated inside the stadium footprint gets recycled through the system, paying debts, funding jobs, maintaining the facility, and even supporting public projects. It's not a tax hike. It's a reinvestment loop. And that's why the claim that Nevada taxpayers are footing the bill is flat out false. The stadium pays for itself through the commerce it creates. Oakland could have used the same model years ago. They just never figured out how. Think of it like a water park. The stadium is like a giant bucket filling with cash from events and fans. Once it overflows, the water cascades through each level: debt, maintenance, housing, and infrastructure. The public never fills the bucket. The fans and businesses do. If the bucket ever runs low, there are built-in tanks and pumps, the backup and reserve funds to keep the ride going. Bottom line, the waterfall is not a trick. It's a flow. It's a flow of money, of growth, and of opportunity. And in Las Vegas, it's about to become one of the most efficient stadium financing systems Major League Baseball has ever seen. The outcome? Taxpayers pay zero in new taxes. City and county gain a steady flow of tax revenue, new jobs, and tourism. And the stadium funds its own future, upkeep, and even affordable housing. In short, the water system is economic recycling, using what the stadium generates to sustain itself and improve the community. Let's see how this system has worked in real life situations. Up next. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You will always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. Pick the section. Game Time picks the seats and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I have bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go! Download Game Time today. Welcome back. Talking waterfalls here on Locked On A's, and we're going to talk about some real world examples how stadium venue projects that use tax districts, tax increment financing, or water style mechanisms where event driven revenue is prioritized in a specific order. This helps illustrate what the waterfall system for the A's Stadium claims to be. Truist Park, the Battery, Atlanta, Cobb County, Georgia. What happened? The Atlanta Braves relocated into Truist Park, opened in 2017, and a large surrounding mixed-use development in the Battery in Atlanta was built. The county issued bonds and set up a special improvement district around the stadium, Cumberland County Improvement District, and others, so that new tax revenue from that district helps cover debt service. For example, by 2022, property values in the Battery zone had grown from $5 million to $736 million. Also, the report indicates that stadium-related revenues are now producing enough tax revenue such that the county no longer needs to pull from the general fund to support the stadium debt service. Quote unquote, we reached a milestone where we were no longer using general fund tax dollars, said the CFO. Why relevant to the waterfall model? The quote unquote special district around the stadium channels incremental tax revenue from property, from sales, from development into specific obligation, debt service, bond payment before general public funds are tapped. That's essentially the same idea as the waterfall. Prioritize revenue from the project first. Number two, Petco Park, San Diego, California. What happened? The San Diego Padres built Petco Park, opened in 2004 in downtown San Diego's East Village. The ballpark was part of a larger public-private redevelopment strategy, revitalizing the area, adding mixed use, and leveraging the stadium as a catalyst. The project used redevelopment agency funding, tax increment financing style mechanisms to finance infrastructure and land acquisition. The city noted incremental ballpark expenses and infrastructure costs tied to the ballpark side indicated a carve-out zone for special revenue flows. Now, why is this relevant? This shows a model where new economic activity around the stadium feeds back into specific obligations and infrastructure cost. Rather than simply being absorbed into the general fund, it mirrors the prioritized revenue flows that the A's stadium plan claims. Tax increment financing in special districts in multiple venues. It mirrors the prioritized revenue flow that the A's stadium plan claims, which is tax increment financing in special districts in multiple venues. Academic research has identified numerous venues where tax increment financing and special tax districts have been used to fund stadiums, arenas, and redevelopment. A special district is defined around the stadium or mixed use site where additional revenue above a baseline is captured. The incremental revenue is pledged to bonds, infrastructure, or maintenance before general taxes are used. Often, this includes sales tax, hotel tax, property value increase, parking revenue, development fees. Why is this relevant? The waterfall system for the A Stadium is essentially a more formalized, multi-layered version of this. You see a prioritized list of obligations: loan servicing, operation, reserve fund, maintenance, affordable housing, bonus projects, all fed by incremental revenue in the district. Could the A's have done this in Oakland? Absolutely, yes. The A's could have done the exact waterfall tax district model at Howard Terminal in Oakland. In fact, the state of California had already passed the legislation that allowed them to do it. The bill was called Senate Bill 293 Skinner. I've talked about it before. Signed into law October 2019, and it was designed specifically to let the A's create a tax increment financing district, the very same funding framework Nevada used for the Las Vegas Stadium. The difference? Oakland never activated it. I will tell you how and why up next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you are following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least two player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I've been using Prize Picks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs. It keeps every game exciting. I like picking my favorite players like Mahomes and Steph Curry to see how my predictions play out. The new stacks features is a game changer. You can now pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leave early with an injury, the injury reboot saves my lineup from a loss. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB. Sully will have you up to date with everything that is going on in the offseason with Major League Baseball. You can check out Sully on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now, the A's, Oakland, the Waterfall. Could this have been done in Oakland? Sure, absolutely, 100%. First, the law was already in place. I've talked about it on many of occasions. Senate Bill 293 Skinner gave Oakland the green light to set up an infrastructure financing district around Howard Terminal. That district could capture future tax revenue, growth, sales tax, property tax, and business taxes generated by the new ballpark and surrounding development, houses, offices, retail, hotels, etc. That revenue would then waterfall down a list of obligations just like Nevada's. Bond payment first, then maintenance, reserves, community projects, and so on. In other words, Oakland had the tool, they just didn't use it. How would it have worked in Oakland? Well, the system would have functioned almost identically to what Las Vegas is doing now. The A's in the city would issue bonds to fund the infrastructure around the ballpark: roads, bridges, sewer, transit upgrades. The incremental tax growth created the project: rising property values, increased tourism, higher sales receipts, would pay off those bonds over 30 years. And like Vegas, no existing tax dollars from schools, police, or general funds would have been touched. If that sounds familiar? It's because it's literally the same model that Cobb County used for the Braves' Truist Park, and Nevada is now using for the A's ballpark on the Strip. What Oakland got wrong? Well, while the legal framework was there, Oakland's leadership never executed it. They failed to finalize the IFD boundaries, couldn't agree on which tax streams to capture, and couldn't line up bond underwriters in time. By the time Mayor Libby Schaaf left office, the A's were losing patience. Then came Mayor Sheng Tao, who never advanced the financial structure beyond press releases and talking points. Meanwhile, Nevada lawmakers pushed through SB 1 in 2023 in a few short weeks, clearly outlining a waterfall sequence from funds and securing commitments from Clark County and the state's treasurer's office. Oakland had nearly 4 years and never produced a working model. Vegas got it done in a few months. Had the city activated Senate Bill 293 Skinner, the Howard Terminal project would have mirrored San Diego's Petco Park or Atlanta's Battery development, self-funding stadiums that jump-started urban growth. Oakland would have generated thousands of construction and service jobs, hundreds of millions in new property and sales tax, a revitalized waterfront anchored by housing and retail, all paid for by the project's own revenue stream. Instead, city leadership treated the tax increment financing like a dirty word and never showed residents that it wasn't a tax hike. It was a reinvestment loop. Why Nevada succeeded? Well, Nevada simplified it. SB 1 created a stadium district that captures only new revenue from activity inside and around the ballpark. That money then cascades down the waterfall, debt service, operations, reserve, maintenance, affordable housing, infrastructure. Every step is spelled out, so no ambiguity, no politics. That clarity gave banks and investors confidence to underwrite the project quickly. Oakland's version was vague and bogged down in political mistrust, a death sentence for major financing. The fatal mistake? Oakland waited until after 2021 during the pandemic to start moving dirt on financial modeling. By then, interest rates were rising, construction costs were skyrocketing, and Fisher was meeting privately with Nevada officials who promised a cleaner, faster process. Oakland's project went from visionary to stalled paperwork in record time. Oakland's leaders wanted guarantees that the A's would pay for community benefits before even creating the tax districts. The A's wanted the city to activate the district first so that future tax growth could pay for those same benefits. It was a chicken and egg problem, and no one blinked. The result? The legislation sat there like an unused lottery ticket while Nevada cashed in. Critics and some media kept framing the Howard Terminal deal as a public handout, when in reality, it would have been a public investment paid back by the project itself. The same model celebrated in Atlanta and San Diego. The messaging failure was catastrophic. Instead of explaining you don't pay more, the stadium pays its own way, Oakland leaders allowed the opposition to brand it as welfare for billionaires. That doomed public sentiment. Let's be blunt. Atlanta pulled off Truist Park using a special district and bond waterfall. Property values tripled. San Diego used redevelopment funding for Petco Park. Downtown exploded with growth. Oakland had the law to do the same thing. And yeah, they choked. It wasn't impossible. It was political paralysis mixed with political fear. The bottom line? Yeah, the A's could have absolutely done this at Howard Terminal. They had the law, the land, and the leverage. What they didn't have was execution. Nevada didn't invent the waterfall. They just had the competence and political will to turn on the faucet. If Oakland had moved swiftly on Senate Bill 293 Skinner in 2019 through 2020, the A's would likely still be on the waterfront right now. And the same reporters calling the Vegas deal a taxpayer bailout would be calling Howard Terminal the smartest redevelopment play in California history. Oakland had the playbook. They just never ran the play. This will always be a tragic story of what happened, what you were told, and how the truth was always spinned. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. We have an extremely exciting week for you. Yesterday, we had Ke'Bryan Hayes, why the A's should absolutely pursue a trade with the Cincinnati Reds this offseason to obtain Ke'Bryan Hayes. I know some of you aren't on board, but you got to remember who we are, what our budget is, and who we can get. And Ke'Bryan Hayes, I believe, is somebody we can absolutely get. Tomorrow, Jesse Goldberg Strassler, the voice of the Lansing Lugnuts, is going to be on. And we're going to talk prospects. We're going to talk where he believes first-round pick Jamie Arnold will be starting his season. Guys like Gavin Turley, Leo DeVries, does he expect him up in the majors this year sometime? On Thursday, we're going to have a panel of A's fans discussing the second part of our three-part series, when winning wasn't enough. And we're going to examine years 2007 through 2014. Did the A's make the right moves? Did they make the wrong moves? Who was to blame? How did they do? What was attendance like? And Friday, I got a special treat for you guys on Friday. Stay tuned for an incredible week of Locked On A's. And as always, if you would like to be a guest on the show, come on live, talk A's baseball. This show is for you. Shoot me a message, lockedonathletics@gmail.com, or hit me up in the chat on YouTube. Or you can find me on X on social media at Locked On A's. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy. In a city built on risk and reward, the A's are stacking chips higher than the strip itself, turning the heat of the desert into the fuel for baseball's next great dynasty.